Have you ever had that feeling, that really weird moment where you are absolutely 100% certain you remember something, only to find out that your memory is completely wrong? And not just wrong for you, but for thousands, maybe even millions of other people who all share that exact same false memory. All right, let's get into what is going on here. Okay, let's kick things off with a classic. How do you remember spelling the name of this famous bear family from all those childhood books? I bet you, like so many others, vividly recall it being spelled with an E-I-N at the end, Berenstain. Well, take a look. In this reality, it has always been Berenstain with an A. Weird, right? Or what about maybe the most iconic line in movie history? Everybody knows it, everybody quotes it. Luke, I am your father. It's been parodied a million times, but if you go back and actually watch The Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader says, no, I am your father. Turns out the word Luke isn't even in the line. And then there's rich Uncle Pennybags, the Monopoly man. Just picture him in your head right now. You see the top hat, the suit, and the monocle, right? Well, you'd be wrong. Go check any Monopoly box you can find. He has never, ever had a monocle. So what in the world is going on? Are we all just collectively terrible at remembering things? Or could there be something much, much stranger at play here? This is the central mystery we're going to try and unpack. All right, so this whole strange feeling, it actually has a name. It's called the Mandela effect. Let's break down what that term actually means and, more importantly, where its very specific name came from. The term itself was created because of this incredibly widespread and very detailed shared memory that the South African leader Nelson Mandela had actually died in prison way back in the 1980s. People remember seeing it on the news, they remember the funeral reports, but none of that ever happened. And this timeline really highlights just how big the discrepancy is. While thousands of people remembered him passing away in the 80s, the historical record is crystal clear. He was released in 1990, he became president of South Africa, and he lived all the way until 2013. So how could so many people share such a profoundly wrong memory? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. There are two main theories. Let's start with what you might call the mundane explanation, the scientific, straightforward one that says it's all in our heads. This theory suggests the Mandela effect isn't some glitch in reality, but just a weird feature of how our own memory works. And this quote really gets to the heart of it. We like to think our brains are these perfect video cameras, recording everything exactly as it happened. But they're not. They're more like storytellers. Every single time you recall a memory, your brain is actively rebuilding it, filling in the gaps, and sometimes it gets a little creative with the detail. Okay, but that still doesn't explain the biggest question. Why do we all make the exact same mistake? Well, psychologists have a few ideas. For Star Wars, Luke, I am your father is just way more dramatic than no, I am your father. For the Bears, the spelling Berenstain just feels more common and familiar to most of us than Berenstain. And a lot of the time, we're just exposed to the wrong version so often in jokes and pop culture that it ends up overriding the real memory.
All right, so that's the psychology explanation, but what if it's not a faulty memory? This is where we get into the really mind-bending idea that we might be getting glimpses of alternate realities.
So get this, the crucial point of this theory is that your memory is perfectly fine. You remember the Berenstain Bears with an E because where you came from, that's exactly what they were called. The idea is that you've somehow slipped from that universe into this one, and you brought those old memories with you. Now, this whole idea is kind of loosely based on a wild concept from quantum physics called the many worlds theory. The basic idea is that for every possible outcome of any event, a totally separate universe splits off where that outcome happens. So in one universe, you turned left this morning. In another, you turned right. And both of those realities exist at the same time. But okay, this raises a huge question, right? If people are really sliding between universes, why do they only notice these tiny, trivial things? Wouldn't you notice if, your car was a different color or if a major historical event was completely different? Why is it always about cartoon bears and movie quotes? So, we've got two very, very different explanations on the table. One is grounded in psychology, and the other is basically straight out of science fiction. Let's put them side by side and see how they stack up. On one side, you have the faulty memory theory. The idea is simple. Our brains are just unreliable storytellers. But the biggest thing it can't quite explain is the incredible consistency. Why do millions of us make the exact same mistake? Then on the other side, you have the alternate reality theory, which says we're basically cosmic tourists. But it really struggles to explain why we only notice these tiny details. And how does this sliding between universes even work? So where does all this leave us? Maybe the most important part of the Mandela effect isn't about finding the one true answer. Maybe it's about what the mystery itself reveals about how we see the world. And trust me, this mystery is definitely ongoing. New examples are popping up all the time. There are thousands of people who will swear they remember a 90s movie called Shazam, where the comedian Sinbad played a genie. That movie never existed. People vividly remember Queen's We Are the Champions ending with a big, of the world. It doesn't. It just fades out. And the Kit Kat bar? Nope, never had a hyphen. Ultimately, it almost doesn't matter if the glitch is in our minds or in the fabric of the universe itself. The takeaway here is pretty profound. The Mandela effect is this powerful reminder that our own personal, deeply held sense of what's true and what's real can be, well, astonishingly fragile. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The next time you and a friend are arguing over a memory, and you are absolutely sure you are right, just pause for a second. Are you simply mistaken? Or are you, maybe, just maybe, a tourist from another reality?